there has been this rash of gun violence this year. There are more mass shootings than days of 2023. And so Atlanta is trying to tackle this with a curfew. What say you to that?
Well, I've lived under a curfew in Atlanta. Under the Missing and Murdered Boys shadow in the '80s, we had a 7 o'clock curfew for kids. So I'm not against a curfew for minors because at a certain point of the day, parents and children should be in the same place, and parents should know where their children are. So I'm not gonna rally against a curfew for kids that work. Afterwards, though, I just say whoever the lawmakers are, let's make provisions for kids who may be riding public transportation home so that they're not harassed by either transit cops or just by regular cops. So kids that are out there working, I say we need to make some provisions for them. But I'm not against the curfew because, at a certain point, it's just good that parents know where their kids are, and that should be in the home.
We know there is just this massive problem with gun violence in the country. You are opposed to any gun control laws, or at least New ones.
Well, I'm opposed to any new laws. New laws affect Black people worst and first, and that's just what it is. I'm a strong proponent for Second Amendment. People know that. But when it comes to making laws, when you say, okay, if you get in New York State, for instance, New York, you can have a long gun, meaning you can have an AR, you can have a shotgun, but they can't. If you get caught transporting it to your house, you go to jail. Well, where are roadblocks going to be? Are they going to be in Harlem or are they going to be on Long Island? More than likely, roadblocks are going to be in Harlem. So I don't want new laws because they're going to affect my community first and worst. But I think that there are enough laws on the books to take care of what's already out there. Criminals are not going to follow a law anyway. And for people that are just law-abiding citizens, I advise us to take Stop the Bleed classes. I advise, especially if we're talking hyper-local in my community, people join NAGA, the National African American Gun Association, or the Bass Reeves Gun Clubs. I suggest that people take Stop the Bleed classes, that they follow pages like the Black Packers, because you shouldn't have a tool that you don't know how to use, and you shouldn't have a tool that could potentially cause harm to people and not stop that harm, like Stop the Bleed classes. So I'm more for more education than I am for more laws.
The one thing that I've read that you said that I want to question is, and you've said that you want particularly Black families to be educated about gun ownership, and they should have multiple guns, all sorts of guns.
Five. I've always just said five. You should have a revolver, a semi-automatic pistol. You should have a shotgun. You should have one bolt-action rifle, and you should have a semi-automatic rifle.
That last one is the one I'm talking about. So why the military style rifle?
I said semi-automatic. Military is fully automatic, so it's not military style. It just looks cool. Yeah, it can look like a race car, but it doesn't go 200 miles an hour. My thing is simply this: the founders of the Constitution saw a need to fight tyranny at some point, and they believed that could happen again, so they wrote that provision. So to get the ultimate answer, you got to dig up those old white guys and ask them. I'm simply going by the rules that were given to me in the Constitution, nothing more, nothing less.
That word tyranny, I've lived many decades, and I never really thought tyranny was subjective or in the eye of the beholder, but it's become that in this country. And what I'm wondering is, with that kind of, where everybody is armed to the teeth, given what's going on in this country, are you afraid of civil war that even could get markedly exacerbated just by the volume of guns?
I'm just going to say Black people have only been free 60 years, and I'm not willing to give up one freedom that if I've only enjoyed 60 years. My mother and father were born in apartheid. The fastest growing gun ownership in this nation is Black women, and I don't want to get in the way of that. I don't want them to not enjoy any freedom they were promised by the people who once enslaved us.